Hello everyone. As I promised in class, I'm going to be providing you with some strategies to be better readers, note takers, and overall better learners. These strategies are going to help you to be more successful on our upcoming test. Overall, these strategies will help you to become better students throughout middle school, high school, and the rest of your academic career. Our topic for today is we're talking about how to remember what you read, hear, and see. So our learning intentions for today, we're going to be trying to identify obstacles to remembering information and strategies to overcome those obstacles. So you guys are going to be successful if you can explain what can be done to effectively recall your information. I just want to begin by talking about the fact that most students, the problem they encounter in school is just how much they forget. So as we hear individual lessons, go through individual readings, watch videos, whatever it is, on average we're going to forget about 95, maybe about 90% of what we hear. So in actuality, most students are only going to be remembering about 5, 10, maybe 15% of what we hear, see on a short term. Months later, we would forget another 80 to roughly 90% of what we originally learned. So after we've lost so much memory from our short-term memory, and then after a while we later lose even more information from our long-term memory, in the end we end up recalling maybe 1 or 2% for the average student of what we actually learn in a classroom setting. Again, I'm talking, when I say 1 to 2%, I'm talking months after the fact, months after your lessons, months after your readings, months after watching a video. You end up remembering very little of what you actually learned or were exposed to in class. So the illustration I've offered you guys on the side is that, again, a lot of students will study, they'll do what they need to do to pass the test, but then again, they will later forget that information. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be teaching you some strategies to overcome this problem and to hold on to more information. So the solution, although there's multiple solutions, probably the biggest solution is just to become what is called an active learner. Okay, the idea that active learners are more successful is also supported by research, and I'm going to be saying that active learners are actually the opposite of passive learners. So the characteristics of an active learners are questioning things constantly. When they're reading, they're in class, whatever their scenario is where they're learning, they're always asking questions. It might not necessarily be out loud, it might not necessarily be in writing, it might just be in their thinking in their head. But at any rate, active learners they are actively thinking, they're actively questioning. Active learners try to take information and organize it into categories. How does this piece of information fit with this piece of information? How does all the information I'm learning fit together? An active learner is going to try to figure things like that out. Active learners also summarize the information that's presented to them. Again, rather than just copying something into their notes, copying down what the teacher says, copying a quote out of a book, an active learner is going to try to take that information and put it into their own words. Put it in a way that they themselves can understand it. That's going to help them to better remember the information and to confirm to themselves that they can actually understand the information. Summary is always a great activity for challenging ourselves to understand material, and it also shows us really if we don't understand the material so that we can take steps to make sure that we're better understanding it. Passive learners are just the opposite. Passive learners avoid thinking, merely just copy things down into their notes, just take everything their teacher says at face value without trying to organize it, put it in their own words, question it. Passive learners will just merely take the information, write bullet points in their notes without any sort of connection between the different ideas. And as we're going to be talking about later on in this series, whenever a teacher presents information, whenever you're having information presented in a video, in a book, whatever the information is being presented, information that's well presented to you is always going to be presented in an organized pattern. It's not just random facts, it's information that goes together, it has a central theme, and then all the facts and details support a main idea or theme. If you can understand how all those ideas are organized and go together, you're going to have a better understanding of the overall message and information that you're trying to receive. So I'm going to talk about some strategies. How can you be an active learner or active participant? Probably the best strategy is by taking Cornel Notes. And this is the main skill that we're going to be focusing on in the upcoming lessons. So basically, Cornel Notes, these are active participants. They are active. They are categorizing information. They're summarizing information. They're asking questions. And Cornel Notes is a note-taking style where you have to constantly be thinking, putting information into categories, and summarizing. So I just wanted to do a quick recap of what we've learned. So we've talked about the problem of what I call the problem of low retention. What that means is we forget almost everything that we learned. Of course we don't forget everything, but in a classroom setting, the amount that we forget is often too much. If we want to truly be intelligent people and effective learners, we need to learn how to overcome this problem. The overall approach and strategy I'm suggesting, and not just me, but research has also suggested, is that learners need to become active learners. Again, as we've talked about, active learners are constantly questioning, thinking, categorizing information, and summarizing it into their own words. Taking Cornel Notes is an effective way to be an active learner. Thank you for listening.